over the Arinui dashboard for early childhood education. The first thing we see here is on the Arinui website is the sign-in page. But just a couple of things to point out. From here you can also live chat and get support directly from our team. And in here you can also manage Arinui, adding new users and removing other users. So let's just sign in and take a little bit of a look. So the first thing that you'll notice on the page here is that you can use your login credentials and save them, but also that you can reset your password if you happen to forget. So let's log in and take a look at the early childhood education dashboard for Arinui. Important things to point out on the very first page. The first is the support button up the top right hand corner. This allows you to access the support centre, where it is a searchable database where you can type in whatever you like and take a look around for information about appraisal, but also about how to use Arinui. The other part that you'll see inside there, inside the support button itself, is the teacher and principal exemplar. Inside here you can take a look at two great examples of appraisal collections, and that show pretty much the process and the kinds of resources that they have used. An example, these are from a teacher and from a principal, so they're a great guide for people to be able to use. Okay, also inside here are a couple of other important things. This is where you can toggle your role. If you are an appraiser, you can go to the appraiser role and have a look and see who has submitted and where they're at with things. User administrator can change people's roles from appraisee to appraiser and back and forth easily, and the leader can have an overview of where the collections are sitting as far as whether they've been submitted or not submitted and where they're sitting in the cycle. They can also generate links for things like ERO, where they have external, where they have audits that come in, so they can just simply generate a link to a completed collection so that the reviewers can actually see that the process is being worked through, and that's all being vetted by ERO and the Teaching Council too. So that's a pretty amazingly useful tool, particularly for those people trying to run things. Okay, so let's take a little look at the ECE dashboard as well. So the dashboard is accessible either down here, or you can click it up here, or obviously you'll see it listed on the left there when you log in. So the very first thing on the dashboard you'll notice is the standards for the teaching profession are listed up here. So it's really easy to track where you're sitting at with evidence against it, and it's reflected further down the bottom as well with the types or the number of evidence that is actually against each one of those standards for the teaching profession. So the idea behind Arinui here is that the very first thing that you do is you explain your context. And this is a pretty easy win and an easy exercise to do with a team early on. So essentially this is being able to talk about maybe the group that you're teaching and what you've kind of been doing for the year. And it allows just a general setting of the framework through. In here you can navigate through the bottom very easily to any one of the pages you want to. It's important to note that if you're doubling up typing information, there's no need to. You just leave it blank and move through. You can add files or whatever you like. It doesn't matter whether it's a link, a picture, a PowerPoint, a video. You can also tag those against things and start adding tags to be able to maybe identify the group that you work with within your centre. So going back to the dashboard there, it now starts looking at, well, how are we building our collection of evidence against those standards for the teaching profession? And these are your key reflective processes. And I want to point out this important sentence here, which says you do not need to complete all of the key reflective processes. Choose one or more to guide your improvement. Good, diligent teachers, of course, want to go through and tick all of the boxes. But these are essentially options for you to be able to use. The guided teaching as inquiry is generally used by people who maybe they're not as familiar, or maybe they're wanting some really good key prompting questions around inquiry, and it will guide you through setting that inquiry up, the key questions, attaching the evidence to it, all designed to make it focused and in depth. Not just a big suitcase of tons and tons of information, but a really good look at a particular hunch and inquiry that you're wanting to look at. The guided leading as inquiry follows the same format, but it is for people that maybe have leadership roles and responsibilities, Maybe they don't have as much contact time or any contact time specifically with the kids themselves, whereas what they are doing is they are leading others. And that's a great template for them to be able to use. The semi-guided teaching and leading as inquiry is a kind of cut down version of the others, with people being a bit more familiar with the process. And the upload inquiry is really useful if you are already using some kind of template, or maybe you're doing a cross-centre collaboration, but as an individual you still need to reflect upon that inquiry or collaborative process, because for you, you still have to show your growth towards the standards for the teaching profession. And analysing learner progress, this is where we're able to put information and evidence around each one. So it's a really great place to explore. Inside here too, you'll see important other supplementary reflections, feedback, professional learning log, so PLD, other goals that you might have and examples of my practice, and your final reflective comments. You'll see each one of those things starts to build up towards those standards for the teaching profession. So it's not important to do all of them. It is, however, important that you have a bit of a gauge around what each one of those standards kind of means, and how your inquiry and your other supplementary reflections are moving towards them. So let's take a quick look at one of them, a guided leading as inquiry. So you'll see on that first page it talks a little bit about what they are, and it says all prompt and response boxes are optional. So you fill in what you want to fill in and what you need to fill in. We don't want repeating of information, there's no need to, because you've got to think of it from the appraiser's point of view as well. They want succinct and focused information and evidence. So then you might identify the focus of your inquiry, and it might be supporting new staff as a leader. What needs have you identified? It's got prompting questions there. You can flick through. You might put some evidence about how you've found that. Maybe there was a feedback form around some new beginners from the year before saying, hey, a bit more mentoring initially would be good. So you can add those, and you can add any kind of files that you want. It's pictures and videos and web links and anything like that is absolutely fine. You can also tag them, so you can start building up tags around particular kinds of information that you have. So you can add those in, and essentially it then guides you through that process. What are the theories that you're thinking of? And this is a real hand-holding way of going through, and a really good way for people to conceptually start understanding. It's not something you sit down and just work through the whole thing from start to finish. You'd obviously start with framing your inquiry up. Then obviously as you're working through that inquiry, you start filling in that these are the things that I've been doing. What have I actually done? Where's the evidence? Maybe this was a PLD thing I attended. Maybe it was a video clip of me looking at this. Maybe it was a plan I put together. And then, did it make a difference? Have I evaluated that? So it's a real prompting question through there. And obviously at the end there, you're looking at linking those, whatever it was that you were doing, to the standards, and whether that is strong or supporting evidence. Helpful little tips throughout the whole thing around what different things are kind of talking about and what they mean. And at any stage, of course, you can go and have a look and skip back a page, go to the overview. It's all completely editable until you submit it to the appraiser at the very, very end. And we'll have a quick look at that now. So up in the top right-hand corner, you can see Sender Collection. So Sender Collection means that I can share that throughout the year with anyone who happens to be working in the same centre who's listed. And this is just to get them to have a look at what it is that you're putting together. I can put this through. I can choose the people that I want to share it with. And then I might sort of say, hey, look, can you have a bit of a look, and then we can have a talk about whether you think this is strong or supporting evidence, or I'm on the right track. And that may be your appraiser as well. And you can unshare that at any stage you like. So in that same regard, at the end of the year, you can submit that appraisal collection to your appraiser. You choose the pieces of things that you want to put into there, and you continue on and you submit it to them. At that stage, it locks. They're able to look at it. If they think that there's more things you should be looking at, they can unlock it and put some comments around each one, bits of your evidence and your reflections, and then you can do a bit more on it, and then you can have the final appraisal meeting. The form and template is all built into Arinui for you to be able to print off and sign as a legal document and upload and attach to the collection itself. A few other quick bits. You can share the collection over in sharing here. You can see what's been shared. You can also see what has been received in the past, so very good for administrators and people to see that. You can put any resources that you like for your entire centre in here. So say you were running a PLD session, you can put the resource in there, and maybe at the end of it you say, hey look, I've put the resources in the Arinui Our Resources. You can add those to your collection if you want and do a reflection if you think that that's part of what it is you want to do as an appraisee-led model to meet the standards. So, well, I hope you enjoyed the quick look around Arinui for early childhood education. Remember that if you do want any help, you can always email us or you can hit on the live chat, ask some questions. Do enjoy, and all the very best.